And welcome back to City and County Credit Union's Money Lessons for Kids. I'm Lucy, and I'm so excited that you're tuning in today because we're going to be talking about one of my all-time favorite topics, which is the difference between a checking account and a savings account. But before we dive into the fun, let's go ahead and grab all the supplies that you're going to need for today's video lesson, as well as our at-home activity. So for today's video lesson, all that you'll need to grab is a pair of headphones to listen and follow along. And for today's at-home activity, you'll just want to grab something that you can color or draw with. So that could be colored pencils, crayons, markers, whatever supplies that you have at home will work great. So let's go ahead and grab those, and then we're going to come back together for our lesson. Now that you've got your supplies, we're going to go ahead and jump into our activity. So I mentioned earlier that we're going to be talking about the difference between a checking account and a savings account. But before we dive into all that, I want to take a step back and talk about where you can save your money when you're at home. So if you're somebody who gets paid money for doing chores, or maybe you like to have lemonade stands in the summer, or maybe you just receive cash and money as a gift, you can go ahead and put that right into your piggy bank. The cool thing about piggy banks is they have this little slot on top, so you can drop your coins right in there, or you can fold up your dollar bills and slide them in. But we need to know what to do with our money when our piggy bank gets full, because we have to move our money out of there so we can make room for more. And that's when your checking and savings accounts come into play. Now your checking account, it's a really great place to keep money that you want to spend. So for everyday spending on things like ice cream or groceries or candy, things that maybe we might pay for on a day-to-day basis that aren't too expensive. Now, on the other hand, if we're saving up to buy something big like a bike or a scooter, it's a really good idea to keep that money in your savings account. And the reason is because your savings account is a great place to plan for the long term. The reason being is because when you put money into your savings account, it earns interest. And all that big fancy word means is that it's a little bit of extra money that your credit union gives you on top of the money that you've put it in there. And they're giving that to you as a way of saying a good pat on the back for saving money to pay for your items. So your checking account, again, is good for everyday spending, and your savings account is a good place to keep money if we're saving up to purchase something big. So we're gonna do a little practice activity together, and we're gonna walk through a couple different items, and I want you to help me decide, is that something that we should pay for out of our checking account, or should we save up our money and put it into our savings account for right now? So I'm gonna go ahead and grab those items, and then we're gonna come back for our activity. All right, it's time to dive into the fun, and our very first item that we're gonna be thinking about is ice cream. Now I love going out and getting ice cream, especially in the summertime. It's one of my favorite things to do. So what do you guys think? Is that something that we should pay for out of our checking account, or is that something that we should save up for and put money into our savings account? Shout it out for me if you know the answer. Good, if you said checking account, you're correct. Now, because ice cream isn't too expensive, and it's something that we're gonna buy a little bit more immediately, we would use the money in our checking account to pay for that. Up next, we have more of a big ticket item, and this is a photo of a bike. So do you think a bike is something that we should pay for out of our checking account, or should we save up our money into our savings account until we're ready to buy it? Shout it out for me. Good, if you said savings account, you're correct. Now, bikes can be kind of expensive, so it's a good idea to save up money until we have enough to pay for that item. So while you're saving, you can put that money into your savings account to keep it safe until we're ready to buy the bike. Next up, we have candy. Now, candy is one of my favorite things to buy. I have a big sweet tooth. So do you guys think if we were gonna go into the store together, is candy something that we could pay for out of our checking account, or should we save up to buy it? What do you think? Good, if you said checking account, you're correct. Put this right over there. So because candy isn't too expensive, it's something that we can pay for right out of our checking account because it's more of an everyday purchase, especially if you're like me and you're buying candy on the regular. Right, up next we have a scooter. So what do you guys think? Is a scooter something that we should save up to buy, or is it something that we can pay for a little bit more immediately? Good, if you said saving, you're correct. Now, scooters are a little bit more expensive, and so if we plan to buy one, we want to make sure again that we're saving up enough money so that when we go to the store to make that purchase, we have enough money to buy it. All right, this is a little bit of a tricky one, but this is a photo of a shopping cart. So if we were gonna go grocery shopping together this week, do you think that we would save up to pay for those groceries in our savings account, or would we take money out of our checking account to pay for that? Good, if you said checking account, you're correct. Now, because groceries are something that we buy on a regular basis, it's a good idea to spend money on them out of our checking account. Okay, up next, I have a glass of lemonade, or maybe a glass of soda if you're outside in the summertime. Do you think this is something that we should pay for out of our checking account? Or should we save up to buy it with our savings account? Good, if you said checking account, you're correct. Now again, because that drink, whatever that might be, lemonade, Kool-Aid, pop, is not very expensive, and maybe it's something that we're buying on a more regular basis, especially in the summertime here in Minnesota when it gets warm, it's a good idea to pay for that out of our checking account. Okay, up next, I have a pair of sneakers. So if you're someone who needs a pair of new shoes, do you think that's something that you should pay for out of your checking account? Or should we save up to buy that item in our savings account? What do you think? Good, if you said savings account, you're correct. Now, shoes can be kind of expensive, and they're something that we have to wear in most places where we're going. So if you plan to buy a pair of shoes, it's a really good idea to save up your money so that when the time comes to buy those shoes, you have enough saved so that you can purchase them. And last but not least, we have a picture of a pair of roller skates. What do you guys think? Are roller skates something that we could pay for out of our checking account? Or is that something that we should pay for out of our savings account? Good, if you said savings account, you're correct. So again, because this is a more expensive item, we want to make sure that we're saving up enough money before we purchase it. So I'm going to put that in our savings column. Okay, now that we've wrapped up our activity, I'm going to go ahead and clean this up, and then we're going to come back together and talk about your at-home activity. Thanks so much for joining me for today's Money Lessons for Kids video. I have a really fun at-home activity for you. We're going to keep practicing our checking versus savings account. So you can download this activity sheet in the description box below. You can print it out at home, or if you don't have a printer at home, you can just grab a piece of paper and mark out your own boxes. But what you're going to do is I want you to think about an item that you would pay for out of your checking account. Maybe it's ice cream, candy, groceries, whatever it may be. And I want you to draw and color a picture of that in this left column here. Now, I want you to do something similar on this side, but this time what we're going to do is we're going to draw something that we would save up for in our savings account. So maybe that's something like a bike or a scooter, but I want you to do the same thing here where you're going to draw a picture of that and then color it in. Now, when it's all done, we'd love to see a picture of you and your artwork, and you can send that to us at social@cccu.com, and I'll have that email address linked in the description box as well. That's all for today. Thank you so much for joining me, and we'll see you again next month.